Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast. And it's time to do another Asian movie DVD collection addendum video. I am way behind on these. Way behind on them. Haven't done one of these in a while, and I've bought a lot of movies in the meantime. I was already behind on them when I did the last video, so I'm way behind. I'll probably upload a flurry of these near the end of the year, during the holiday shopping season. I'll break out my Christmas tree in the background and just freaking go through a bunch of them. But, yeah, I wanted to do one that was kind of themed, because I've been buying quite a few of these obscure, rare Japanese movie DVDs in recent months. A lot of which I've seen before, some of which I have not. So this is a pretty big-time video for me. And the reason for that is the first series of films that we will be covering here tonight. And all the titles for these movies will be in the description box below. So, back in the day, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I saw a series of videos that were posted on YouTube, uploads of Japanese short films with English subtitles. Now, these short films were called Torihada, or Goosebumps from Japan, which have nothing to do with the Goosebumps books, so don't get excited about any connections. There aren't any, I don't think. And I saw some of these on YouTube with subtitles, and they eventually got taken down, probably because they were uploaded, without permission. But I really enjoyed them, the ones that I saw. And after a bunch of research, these are so obscure, I figured out that there were actually 6 made-for-television films, anthology films, that were released from 2007 to 2009 in Japan. And there's, a total of like 34 short films in there. A lot of them range between 4 to 9 minutes each, with a few exceptions. And basically what makes these really, really interesting is that even though they're similar to the Tales of Terror from Tokyo franchise, they're about stalkers. And I eventually found these DVDs, and I'll tell you the whole story here. So, after I saw these short films on YouTube, I kept looking for, the full versions. Because the guy who uploaded them only uploaded maybe a third of the short films that are in the whole set. So I kept looking, and looking, and looking. And eventually, Viki uploaded them, Viki.com, and they're still on Viki.com with English subtitles. You have the 6 made-for-television anthologies on there. So if you want to check them out there, because they are with subs. After I saw them on Viki in their entirety, I started looking for them everywhere, because I want to have them in my collection. Nowhere to be found. I'm like, you know what? I'll take the Japanese versions without subtitles. I don't care. Nowhere to be found. Looking. Then the 7th installment came out, Torihada Gekijoban, which was I think, direct-to-DVD or direct-to-video follow-up anthology. It may have been released in theaters, I'm not sure. Then another one came out in 2014. So now there's 8 total installments. And I saw the 2012 one on Daily Motion with English subtitles. So I'm scrapping by trying to find these, you know what I mean? And, but I had none of them in my collection. Then the second movie, or the 8th installment came out, technically the second, film version, and, in 2014, and I still haven't seen it. So I'm looking desperately, and I finally found them. Okay? A few weeks ago, I found them on Amazon Japan, under the Japanese character titles, which I've searched before. I use the Japanese characters to search, and didn't come up with anything, but I found them on Amazon Japan. No subtitles, region 2 releases, but I don't care. They're in my collection now. And I got all 8 of these installments, the 6 original made-for-television anthologies, and the 2 movie versions anthologies, for $50. $55 or something. Used. But, when I say used, I looked at all these, and they look brand new. The DVDs, I don't know who bought these. Maybe they watched them one time and then just wanted to sell them off. But this is just an absolutely massive purchase for me. Now, the whole stalker thing. Okay, I reviewed Torihada Gekijoban from 2012 in my Asian horror year in review playlist from that year. And it was like my third favorite Asian horror film from that year. I really enjoyed it, as I do with the television installments. And some of these covers are pretty interesting. So the stalker premise, okay? You might think to yourself, like, all these short films are about stalkers. Like, how much variety can there be? But I think there's actually a pretty solid variety of stalker-esque moments in this. There's a few that I'll never forget as long as I live. There's one involving a girl in a subway, on a subway platform. She's listening to metal music, and something happens. And it's just a classic little short film, and it teaches you a valuable lesson along the way. And then there's another one that takes place in a restaurant. This girl's waiting for her blind date to show up, and you're like, what? How creative can this be? But trust me, what happens is so freaking creepy, and you barely see anything. It's such a brilliant little short film. So there's some really cool short films in this series of anthologies, and this is one of the Hallmark stalkers. She appears multiple times throughout the, sometimes you will get a stalker who appears multiple times. And, yeah, I really enjoyed these. So I'm glad to have them in my collection. Now, like I said before, I covered Torihada Gekijoban in my Asian horror year in review playlist, but I did not cover the made-for-television versions because they were made-for-television, and they were I kind of consider them to be a television series instead of separate made-for-television films, so I didn't cover them, but I will. I've decided I will. I'm going to rewatch them, and I'll probably cover them in an addendum video on my Asian horror year in review playlist at some point. So, yeah, these are all pretty sad. This is Mitsuki Tanimura here. And she usually stars in the wraparound segments on all of the anthologies. So it's nice to see her. I'm a fan of her. The other thing is when I went to Japan, multiple times for vacation, the last few times I've always asked the DVD counter guys when I would go to book off or something to scrap some, Japanese DVDs. And I would always ask them, Torihada? And they knew exactly what I'm talking about. Because they would nod their heads and be like, oh, Torihada, and they're like, we don't have them. So I don't know if these are rare even in Japan. I don't know what's going on. I do know that when I bought them on Amazon Japan, it was the last used copy I could find for all 8 films. I think there's still some out there where they sell them separately or in little packages, and I got lucky because this particular seller delivered to the U.S. So this is easily my most important purchase of the year, and definitely one of my best purchases of all time. And despite the fact that it's Region 2 with no subtitles. Now this one, Torihada Gekijoban 2 from 2014, was the key missing piece of my Asian horror year in review for 2014. I couldn't do 2014 without watching this frickin' movie first, you know what I mean? Given the pedigree of its predecessors. So now I can do 2014 with no regrets. Even if I miss a few, movies that I watch later that are good, I can go in with full confidence. So, yes, Torihada. That was huge. Huge purchase. Big one. Now, there's another series of Japanese anthology horror films, direct-to-DVD, of course. As you can tell, I'm a fan of some of those. But you got to be careful. I've mentioned this before. There's, Japan releases a lot of horror films direct-to-DVD. If you check Yes Asia, there's a ton of them. And I'm sure a bunch of them are terrible. And I've seen some that are pretty terrible. But Torihada, I knew was good because I saw it online first, most of them. I still have to watch the last one. Now, this other set, I saw reviews of them on a French website that I go to that this person's a pretty big fan of, direct-to-DVD Japanese horror films. They do a lot of reviews. You have to use Google Translate because it's in French. Well, they include a little description below in English. Maybe I'll include a link in the description box below. Very obscure website. I don't know how I came across it, but they review a lot of direct-to-video Japanese horror films. And they reviewed the Okinawan horror story series on that website, and they recommended, I think, all of them, or at least a bunch of them. So I finally found them for reasonable prices recently, and I snatched up most of them. I had the first one for years, and I thought it was pretty good. So I'm like, I'll check out the rest. You know, they seem pretty cool. They all, I think, take place in Okinawa, or deal with Okinawan legends, or something like that. That's the theme. It seems that a lot of these are going to be supernatural films, to varying degrees, but they're, Okinawan legends, I think, or, I don't know, who knows. Again, these are Region 2 releases with no subtitles, but regarding Japanese horror, I don't mind. I can watch them that way. Looks like some pretty interesting stuff here. It's the type of stuff that, I love doing, like, marathons of stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like these films, the Torihada films, so you bet your butt I'm going to be doing marathons. Actually, this year, every year for the past, 7 or 8 years, I've done the October Horror Challenge that, was kind of an IMDb horror board type thing, specifically, where you watch 31 horror movies, 16 of which have to be first-time viewings, but that board is no longer in existence, so I just do it myself now, and I can exercise some flexibility. So what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to do my horror challenge in November, because I'm going to be in Japan for the second half of October on vacation. So I can't, I'm not going to watch horror movies much in October. So I'm like, I'll just push it to November. Who cares? You know what I mean? So I start my horror challenge on Halloween, midnight Halloween time, technically, right? So, hey, it's, whatever. So I'm going to watch a bunch of these in November. And if I come across a bunch of them, or some of them that are really good, I'll let you know. I think what I'll do is I'll include a DVD addendum video for Torihada and the Okinawan Horror Story series together. And just do like a video of all of them together. Which would be good. At least the ones that I missed. So, I'm looking forward to all of these. They look pretty interesting. I need my Japanese horror films, man. And the final one here looks really, really odd. The DVD cover art, at least, right? And it looks like a little demon of some kind. If we get some demons or something in this, something odd. So there we go. So those are two huge Japanese horror hauls. Huge. Alright, now we've got a small handful of films left. Japanese obscurities that most people probably have not heard of. The next two are huge purchases as well. Huge. There's some real big-time purchases in this video, people. You have no idea. Very valuable to me. All of these films that or most of these films I'm covering tonight. Now, again, Japan with their anthologies. These two aren't horror anthologies, though. They're anthologies that may have a splash of horror in them, but not entirely. So, we got Jam Films. This one is pretty freaking interesting. Now, like I said, all the previous DVDs that I've covered were Region 2 releases with no subs. This one and the next one are Region 3 Hong Kong releases with English subtitles. So this is even more valuable because it's got subtitles on it. Now, this is an anthology of some really creative stuff. Really creative stuff. You have a film by Ryohei Kitamura is in this. You have some films with, I think, Ryoko Hirosue is in this. I think Satoshi Sumabuki might be in this too. It's crazy. And there's one film in this that it's a hilarious science fiction comedy segment. It's like stuff like that, you know what I mean? Really kind of wacky at times and interesting. If you have not seen Jam Films, and there's been some sequels to this that weren't quite as good but interesting, check it out. It's very worth your time. I was thinking about doing a separate review of this, but I don't know. When you're dealing with a film this kind of obscure and hard to find, it still might be available. And I was surprised I got this. Region 3 English subtitled version? You gotta be kidding me. So that's a big one too, man. I really enjoy that one. And then we got another one. Tales of the Unusual. Yes. This is another one that's just classic Japanese anthology from, I think, 2000. This one has One Snowy Night in it, which is the horror short that's really cool. And the big one in this one is one called Chess. So you have these two dudes playing chess, but every time they lose a piece, someone dies in real life. So that's one of the shorts in this. So that's the kind of stuff you get. Really interesting, man. What I'll do, I'm going to do a double header of these one night, because I've always wanted to, because these two films I associate with one another for some reason in my mind. And maybe I'll do reviews on my channel for them, even though they're kind of hard to find and pretty obscure, but who cares, right? I try to cover films you can watch, you know what I mean? But yeah, this one's a good one too, man. Big time purchases, people. You have no idea. And then finally, we got two good films. Again, Japanese versions with no subs, but they were directed by Koji Shiraishi, so I had to get them because I need to get Koji Shiraishi films. You know, like I say, when you do direct-to-video stuff, it's always good to have a favorite director that you get every time. You got to have some idea of what you're getting. If you go completely blind, you could get stung. And these two were good films. They're called the Ada films, ADA 1 and 2. You got the second one here as well. And this one is about school violence. So it's kind of a dramatic thriller. They're dramatic thrillers. And what you do is you start off with a school shooting, I believe. Yes, that's how this begins. But it gets a little bit interesting because you get like flashbacks of what happened before that, and it kind of humanizes the people that perform the violence. So I did not cover this in my 2013 Asian Horror Year in Review playlist because I don't really consider these to be horror enough to be horror films. You know, they got some thrills and some, but they're pretty, you know, again, they're low budget, direct-to-video flicks that are just kind of interesting. I found to be pretty interesting. So that's the first one. And then we have Ada Part 2. Yes, Ada Part 2. Here. Which was also pretty good. I enjoyed them. But again, these were not a great deal because I paid these, I think, full price on these. I think they came with little slipcase thingies here. Again, special features on these are going to be real slim. Real slim. But, you know, got some pictures and stuff. And there's definitely some shenanigans going on in this. Koji Shiraishi, man, I'll watch anything from this guy. Not all of his stuff is perfect, but it's pretty good. So yeah, that concludes my you know, obscure Japanese movie haul. And if you've seen any of these films, let me know what you think. You know, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts if you've seen them. Acquiring these is going to be a little difficult. But like I said, if you could find Jam Films or Tales of the Unusual with English subs, Region 3 Hong Kong releases with reasonable prices, check those two out. Check them out. Really interesting. And the other thing I would say is that if you want your head to just explode over the course of a weekend, watch those two films and then check out the Genius Party films, the anime anthologies that Japan released back in the day. So all four of those in a weekend, you're going to get some really good stuff, really creative stuff. So that's it. That's all I got for you tonight. I was kind of rambling a bit. I didn't really know what to say on a lot of this stuff, but I don't script these DVD collection videos, so just deal with me on this. But I will have a bunch more of these DVD collection videos coming up, and you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff. But as always,